So, Barry, we're here today at Draeger doing some wonderful sales training, and we had a discussion about this little book, Sales Shift,
yes.
and it's had a little bit of an impact on you.
Yes, it has.
Tell me about that impact, because I think it's fascinating.
So I think for myself, coming from a clinical background, that sort of nursing empathy level, and moving into this role, I kept identifying myself as an educator, somebody who would relate to the nursing teams and all these sort of things. And when people mentioned you're in sales, I'm like, no, I'm suppressing it. But also, there was a desire to come into this that I also had been suppressing within me that I wasn't aware of. So when I actually started the Banjar training, I was a bit disengaged, I'll be honest, and was kind of pulling back and thinking, I'm not a salesperson, this doesn't really relate to me, but still reading and adhering to the coursework. And then when the sales shift, we got it. It was a great gift, and then took it home, sat at the side. And then as things started happening within our territories and we started discussing more business, I was kind of trying to identify and do things, and I was feeling things, and I thought, okay, what have I got home that's sales related? And then obviously leveraged off the book, started reading it and went through it, and then started to think, Mike Boyle and I have a lot in common. So things like schooling that we talked about, not being able to fit into the box of what society had frameworked for education. I never felt like I fitted into that, and I had.
We feel like the oddball, don't we?
All the time, and the person that's been the goose in the room that's distracting everybody else because this doesn't really relate to me, and all the rest of it. So, I think when I read through, identified a lot of what your personality traits were, but then saw how passionate and how much you owned the whole sales story. I thought, hang on a minute. Let's just uncover a little bit more and delve a bit deeper to understand that I actually have this in me, and this is something that I have suppressed for a long time. And when I acknowledged it and let it come out, read through the book, things just started to fall into place more for me. So
what in particular, I'm really interested in, and I think everyone will be, out of this little book, and it's only a little book, what are those little things that came out that you've now been able to anchor onto?
So I think when you spoke about the emotional sale, and you spoke about, there are people who it's natural. I felt like I have that. That is something that's natural for me. But you were correct in what you said when you talked about how that can leave us vulnerable. And there is this science to that too. So we need to look at not just the emotion,
to go to the next level.
Yeah. And then the whole looking at, we were, like the old standard of being wide, and then we had to be narrow and specific.
Yeah.
That really kind of helped me a lot, and I leveraged from that too. So a lot of the things I've now been going into and deals that we've been doing, I've gone in. And the same with what we've been talking about with regards to being frightened of objections and things. Yeah. I was much more like, I actually have this in me to take control of this. I can do this. I'm willing to take this on.
And we've got that from our past, of course, because again it was suppressed and we didn't handle objections because we thought we had to retreat.
Right.
But we would have put our heads up, and that made us a bit confrontational.
Right, exactly.
Which is actually an asset to you today, being a bit more confrontational, but with some science and process around it.
Yes, exactly. So I think I challenged the status quo 100% my whole life, but I've always been told to conform and stay on the narrow pathway. And for me now, being able to just go, you know what? If Mike can do this, I can do this. And then what I've gone from is what looks like a tree trunk to now branches and leaves, and I'm like, okay, I can.
Cool. I love that
together.
creative picture. It's fantastic. So, what do you see going forward? Like, it's created some triggers. So, what are the things you're really going to work on from this that you think will give you that next step, or take you into what we call the science?
So I feel there's a lot of practice. I think, like we've spoken about today, just relate back to these, looking at the literature that you have recommended to us, but also, I've come into this journey as a product specialist with an expectation for education for a marginal portion of sales, and I think for me, I really need to just go straight into this. I feel that there is a pathway for myself that is much more purely sales,
Yeah.
and then a direction that will come with that. So
And especially a company like Draga, where there's a strong product bias, there's a strong
Yes.
technical bent. You come with a strong technical bent from nursing and
Yeah.
that medical field, but to get that balance in the conversation is going to be key, isn't it?
absolutely
And
right.
take that then suppressed ability that you've got, put it on top of all that technical stuff and turn it into a sales game
Absolutely.
is the gold, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. I'm pretty excited that you like the book.
I love it.
And we're sort of, while we might not have liked each other at the start, we're sort of like kindred spirits.
Oh my
Who would have
god, it's
thought?
like a relative.
By the way, Edinburgh's my favourite place in the world.
Oh,
so
okay, well done,
I'll
thank
maybe
you.
report that. All right, thanks very much.
No worries.
Well done.
Thanks,
Thank
mate.
you.